How are the Matt?
So slow. All right, everyone. Welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. And tonight we are scoring the place after a disappointing 2-0 loss away at Manchester City. Could have been more. Sorry for the delay. We'll crack on now because we don't have all the time in the world tonight. Lee, we'll start with you with the goalkeeper because me and Sam have talked ourselves out on the fan reaction. So if we start with Carl Darlow between the sticks tonight, how do you think he got on tonight?
For me, one of the contenders for man of the match. I've gone 7. Great save. The Guerrero one springs to mind straight away for some reason.
Yeah.
We crossed the 6-yard box. The distribution was fine. Can't fault him for the goals. I'm sure you'll pick on other players tonight if we land on them for the goals. But yeah, Carl Darlow. And obviously there was a debate amongst the main watch-along about Dubravka. And, Carl Darlow was asking the right questions for Seabrook to keep him in the lineup for Darlow 7. A couple of other saves as well. So good night for him, despite conceding 2 goals.
For anyone that hasn't seen the watch along, what's your opinion on that whole Dubravka Darlow conundrum, Lee? Does he walk straight back in?
Nah, Dubravka doesn't. Nah, I think it's Darlow's to lose. Sam was talking is that as soon as Darlow makes a mistake, Dubravka's in, which I feel is a little bit harsh because Dubravka's got the opportunity to make mistakes and keep his place. But I don't think Darlow has, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. Moving swiftly on, I like to start on the left-hand side of the field. So we'll go with you, Sam, for Matt Ritchie playing at left wing-back today instead of Jamal Lewis. How do you think you got on?
Outclassed, outpaced. Man City were really dangerous down their right, our left. Cancelo was the best player on the pitch for me tonight. Sterling, if he was on form, could have had a hat-trick if he really wanted to. Ritchie got took off because he got the yellow, and he would have had another foul like that similar. So Bruce has probably done it to protect him. I'm probably going to give him a 3. I mean, I like the guy, I love the guy, but he was just outclassed. What can you say? Really, he was fault for the first goal. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, partially. There's a lot of people at fault for the first goal.
Well, there is. I know we had 7 black and white shirts in the box for that, but to get to that point. But it's just a question of Matt Ritchie's not good enough to play against Premier League teams of this level, and he just got found out. He's lost a yard of pace, hasn't he? So it's a shame. Mm-hmm. Jamal Lewis is so out of form and playing so poorly because Lewis's attributes should have been a match for that game, pace-wise and dynamism-wise. But because Lewis is playing so shite at the moment, Ritchie had to go in. But got found out 3 out of 10.
Do you think that he keeps his place, Ritchie, in the next game because similar caliber opposition?
Good question. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, Lewis should be first choice right back, but he's so out of form. He's so poor. I like the lad. Great potential, but not playing well. So it doesn't matter who's there at the minute. The wing backs on both flanks are terrible.
Yeah. I'll take Kieran Clark moving across the back line. For me, I think overall the team had a bad game, so he wasn't his usual solid self at the back. He did make a couple of good challenges. I'll probably give him a 4 because I think he was better than Ritchie, nowhere near as good as Darlow. My only glaring criticism with Clark is that he didn't step up for the first goal. Sterling had about 6 or 7 seconds just stood just outside the 6-yard box, and it wasn't necessarily Clark's man to be taken on, but he usually throws himself at those kind of opportunities, throws himself in front of the ball. He's ball watching a little bit for me there. So I think a 4 out of 10 is what I'll give him. Let us know in the comments, obviously, if you agree or disagree with any of the ratings. I think you're a bit harsh there on Clark.
I do too.
Harsh. Yeah,
I think here, Matt. We're sorry, you're getting bullied like a kid at school.
What would you two give him then? I
brought the ball out. We associate Fabian Schär doing that, but Fabian Schär didn't. But Clark was, funny enough, at some points, were best attacker a couple of times. But
yeah,
I think
that's the last game as well.
I think
And he stuck his head in there where it hurted as well. So yeah, I really like Clark.
Right, it's Matt who gets the stick in the comments, not us.
I've got someone saying Clark gets a 7, but I don't think he was anywhere near that good. But yeah, if we move on to Fabian Schär, like you say, Lee, coming back into the side in the fan reaction, someone said he was being hung out to dry by Bruce. How do you think he got on against Man City?
Yeah, very surprising to him straight in the lineup. Was an average performance, but then again, you've got to consider he's up against, although he's a young kid, Ferran Torres, still a talent, and he's got Sterling coming in from that side as well. I think he's done all right. I think it was an average performance, 5 out of 10. Looking at the goals, not really his fault. So, but great to see him back. It gives Bruce a lot more options, whatever you think of him as a player. Going to the next game of Liverpool, he's got a few options whether he goes back at wing back or goes to 4. So Fabian Schär back and his contract's running down as well. So, but yeah, average game, 5.
Yeah, Sam Fernandez, usually our most solid defender. Not the best game today, but couldn't really do much about the goals either. What are you going to give him?
No, I don't suppose he could do much about the goals. Especially, I mean, the second one is you would look at him, but he's half cleared it, but couldn't really do much more. I think it'd be incredibly fickle to pin all the blame on Fernandez for that one. I'll probably give him a 4 because I think he was the weakest out of the back 3. And bearing in mind the other scores, I'll give Fernandez a 4. I don't think he's looked quite right in the last few weeks. Obviously, we know he was one of the ones that suffered with COVID. Just before he was out as well, he had a couple of wobbly games too. I don't know. He's not quite his usual solid self lately, but yeah, it wasn't. I mean, let's face it, the defence for the first goal was an absolute shambles.
Yeah. So
he's got to be marked down for that. He should be marshalling that back line. Got the captain's. He had the captain's armband tonight as well, didn't
he? Yes, I want to say he did. I can't imagine who else would have had it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Fernandez had it.
Yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, Lee. You're looking pensively at me.
I can't remember. I mean, I had the volume on mute because I was doing the watch along. I can't remember seeing it, but if he did, fair dues.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, no, 4 from me.
Yeah. I'll take Yedlin on that right-hand side playing wing back, probably better than a full back for Yedlin. Straight in there, probably going to give him a 2 out of 10 because I really don't like him. I've liked him in the past. I think I've liked him in the past. He's all right, but he did nothing today. And I know a lot of the danger came from the other side of the pitch, but that doesn't mean he gets off scot-free. I genuinely prefer Jacob Murphy as a wing back because at least he offers you something going forward. I think DeAndre Yedlin crossed the ball in twice. One was straight out for a goal kick and one hit the first man. And if you're playing as a wing back, you've got to offer more as that. And then defensively, he struggled as well. They were running rings around him. Can't remember him making a decent tackle.
So frustrating to watch.
He found himself in loads of space as well.
Gets in great positions. Mm-hmm. He has the potential to be. He had the potential to be our best player tonight, but his just complete inability to do anything positive when he has the ball in terms of a final end product is just so frustrating. Quick.
You're right. Yeah. Like in that position tonight, I think if Jacob Murphy is in DeAndre Yedlin's position, you've got someone like Fraser ahead of him. Murphy gets, a couple more decent crosses in the box for someone to get onto. It creates a few more chances, but, it was what it was. I think 2 is fair from me. Obviously, let us know. I think Jay in Atlanta agreeing there. Could not cross or pass. Almost a 1, but +1 for a fellow Yank. Of course it is. Soft arse. Right. We're going on to the central midfielders now. Both coming back into the side. Oh, well. Matty coming in more than Hayden. Lee, Matty in from the cold from Steve Bruce. How do you think he got on? Because City flooded the midfield today.
Again, similar to Fabian Schär, just out the blue, wasn't it? But this one's the biggest surprise because he hasn't been seen, Matty, for a long, long time. Again, pressed. I think he pressed the most for me. Him and Hayden pressed really well, and we probably need that against a side that's going to dominate and have a lot of the ball. So, judging it's his first game back and considering is he match fit, I don't know, but I'm actually kind of scoring a 7. I think he pressed really high. That's what I was more happy about, his work off the ball, not on the ball because he barely got a touch but he grafted his little ginger arse off fantastically well.
Real tenacious little bugger, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like a little Rottweiler in your face. But
going in for 50-50s as well, great to see.
Yeah, and I want to see him against Liverpool. If he's not starting, at least there's 9 substitutes you can make in the Premier League. He has to be in that 20 matchday squad, period.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think 7's maybe a bit generous because I think Darlow probably had a better game.
Man, it's Christmas.
I know. But definitely our best outfield player, in my opinion. Did very well in that midfield where a lot of players have struggled against City. Other midfielder, Isaac Hayden. Sam, we know he's struggled for match fitness, playing a lot of games in a short succession recently. I think he did okay. How do you think he got on?
I think he did okay. I'm going to give him a 6.5.
Not these points.
I thought the midfield centrally had a lot better shape about them tonight compared to our previous efforts, because the last few weeks the midfield in the just looked a complete mess. The shape with Sean and John Joe, especially against Brentford, was just absolutely appalling. It was an embarrassment. But they were a lot more solid today. Didn't create an awful lot, but that's always going to be tricky when you're playing against freaking Kevin De Bruyne.
But having said that, though, De Bruyne had a fairly quiet game. I know he had a couple of free balls, but it was a fairly quiet game.
Yeah, they kept him quiet defensively. Just didn't create much. They're probably just missing a bit of flair. But, you know, Matty coming out from the cold, Hayden again playing 20 games in 4 days. It's just ridiculous. After he again was one of the ones with COVID, I thought Hayden marshalled and battled quite well under the circumstances.
I'd agree with you there. A couple of people in the comments saying he should maybe not as good as a 6.5, but held his own regardless. I'll take the right-hand side of midfield. If you were saying we were playing a 5-4-1 or maybe a 5-2-3, when on the rare occasion that we did attack, Jacob Murphy, we've had a little chat about him saying maybe he's better at wing-back. I think he did all right. You know, we didn't have many chances, but we talked in the live reaction. We touched on the one chance, and he was surrounded by about 5 City players. Managed to get a shot off. He had a couple of left-footed curlers from distance. Tested Edison, probably our best chance of the game, if you can even class it as a chance. I think probably a 5 out of 10. Maybe you might think that's a bit harsh, maybe even a bit generous if you don't think he did his defensive duty. But don't think he really was troubled by Ake at left back. Ake didn't really contain him particularly well, and Ake didn't really offer anything going forward. So Murphy never had too much trouble defensively covering Yedlin.
I thought he was quiet first half. I was expecting more.
He was a passenger first half.
Yeah. A lot of the team was. But I think he did all right. He seems to enjoy playing against Man City more than half of the team. Anyway, remember him nicking a goal at the Etihad when we got beat. I think it was 3-1 a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on to the left side of midfield before we go up to the strikers, Miguel Almiron, Lee. You got the pleasure of marking his performance today. Go on. What have you got for him?
A bit worried about the lads' form, consistency, morale, happiness. Is he content at the club? Look, he's a foul for that second goal. That's poor mark, and it's very similar to Matt Ritchie. Just lapse of concentration, what's around him, awareness. You might slightly point the finger at Fernandez. Clearance might be better. Could have done better, but I've got to point at Miggy is the most blame. He's got to take about 80% of the blame there. And that was practically the game killer, because we're not going to score 2 against City. At 1-0, we might have a chance, bring Carroll on, go long, whatever. But in terms of tonight, Miguel Almiron didn't see much going I think he's one of the worst players on the pitch. I'm going to give him a 2. That's how low I'm rating Miguel Almiron. His form is dropping under Steve Bruce, but I will stick up for him, saying he's playing in a position where a lot of the work is defensive, not offensive tonight, which is hard for any attacker that night.
I mean, personally, I think you're being generous. If anything, we know he's playing out of position, fair enough, but I think he's at fault for both goals, being brutally honest. We can point the finger at a lot of players for the first one, like we said, but it all started with him not tracking Cancelo. Cancelo made an overlapping run, which Almiron didn't follow, which pulled Ritchie out of position. So when the ball went back into the middle, Ritchie has to then recover, which is where Cancelo slips that ball through to Sterling, because Ritchie's being pulled out of position because Almiron didn't track his man. And that's where the problem started. If Almiron tracks the run, Ritchie's not out of position. That pass that lane for that pass doesn't open up. Like you say, he offered very little going forward. So people in the comments saying a couple of ones in there for Miggy. Yeah, I think 1 or 2 is probably fair though. And last but certainly not least for the starting 11, Joe Linton isolated up top, Mr. Number 9, even though Steve Bruce himself says he can't play as a sole striker. Mr. Sam Mulliner, take it away.
So do you give him kind of sympathy points?
No.
Because he was isolated and was 50 yards away from everyone else and had to...
We're all isolating. Joe Linton's isolating at another level.
Yeah, isolating in plain sight. I'm going to give him a 4. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch. His final pass still bugs me a little bit, but not that we saw much of that tonight. Didn't really get in the game because how could you? He was by far and away not the biggest problem on the pitch tonight. Did he have any service to speak of whatsoever? Not really. But this is like the second or third game in a row he hasn't had a shot on goal.
Yeah.
You're a striker.
But is that the fault of Steve Bruce for setting up the team the way he did?
Yeah, but Rondon played up on his own for God knows how long. So Joe Linton's not... I mean, we can say Joe Linton's not a striker all you want, but he's been playing there pretty much all season, just not on his own. It's pretty much what you would have expected a Joe Linton performance to be up top on his own.
It's a great performance getting a 4 out of 10 for Joe Linton.
Why? Do you think I'm being generous?
No, it's just great for him getting a 4. Just take the piss, mate. I'm just taking the piss. It's a great score for him.
Well, it is, isn't it? But I mean,
it's the best you can hope for.
Exactly. I mean, what else can you say about him? We know everything about him pretty much now. It's just what you expect. I mean, he's not. Again, like you say, Bruce, not 3 weeks ago said he can't play up top on his own. Then he plays him up top on his own.
All right, and then moving on to the 3 substitutions made by Steve Bruce. First one to come on was Jamal Lewis, who was supposed to be coming on for Almiron before Ritchie got in the book. Came on in the 66th minute. Pretty uninspiring. Chances didn't. All the chances came down that right-hand side. Cancelo, for me, was man of the match. Put in 6 or 7 dangerous crosses from that side, and Lewis didn't change that. He maybe put in a couple tackles. I think a 4 because we couldn't expect anything more of him, but because he was better than Ritchie, if I'm being brutally honest, even though he had less time on the pitch. But uninspiring, didn't offer anything going forward. He did make a forward pass. I remember shouting at the TV in jubilation. He passed forward once and then passed backwards for the entirety of the rest of the game. But yeah, couldn't do much, couldn't expect much from him. Bang average, I think about sums it up. And I think we'll just move on from that, unless you disagree.
No.
Yeah, fair enough. Andy Carroll came on next, 71st minute. Typical Steve Bruce move, down your drink if Andy Carroll comes on when we're chasing the game. Lee, I'll let you.
I'm going straight in with a 3.
Yeah.
You won a couple of headers, but I think if Andy Carroll's in there, play his strengths, get more crosses in. Have runners around him. I think that's why I tried to bring in Gale. But what did he do? Except for win a couple of headers. It was a menace. I would have liked to see him a little bit earlier, perhaps. But yeah, didn't have much game time. 3.
Yeah, I mean, there was a comment on the reaction saying from a City fan saying that he would have been worried if Carroll started this game. You know, he would have bullied those centre backs because they're not particularly physical. I think Stones is just scraping 6 foot, and Diaz is less than 6 foot. Neither of them particularly powerful in the air. I think he gets a +1 on his rating for making a forward pass there. And Sam, last but not least, for the players anyway, Dwight Gale, 82nd minute appearance, 8 minutes plus added time on the pitch. Does he deserve a rating? Are you going to give him one?
Well, if he does, he did fuck all. So I'm going to let him off with a non-applicable personally. Didn't really do anything, didn't see anything of him. No, I don't think he should. I don't think this was the game for Gale.
But when is a game from?
Yeah, I like
the game for him was Brentford and Fulham.
Yeah,
poor lad scores goals and he can't get games.
Yeah, Brentford and Fulham was a game for Gale. I think today, for the point Matt just made, maybe Carroll needed more time because he just. I mean, it's no wonder he looks rusty. I mean, he's played about 5 minutes in the past month. It's just, what's the point? What's the point in having him?
Yeah. I mean, people calling for Wilson to start because he's our top scorer. Fair enough. But Gale offers you the same.
Got to have a rest at some point.
Yeah, but if Wilson's not starting, Gale offers you a similar kind of play. Running the channels, getting him behind, drawing a foul when he needs to. So if you instead of starting Joe Linton, who we know is not number 9, why not start Gale? Or if you're looking for an alternative, you want a big man to hold it up, Andy Carroll, not Joe Linton. But I mean that brings us on to Steve Bruce. Named a back 5. Went from the off, said back 5, midfield 2 or 4 even. We'll play the one up top. We'll go from left to right. We'll start with Lee. How did you rate Steve Bruce in terms of starting lineup and then the subs he made, the way he approached the game? Do you think he got it right? We were lucky to come away with a 2-0. That's arguably a good result against City.
Yeah, the lineup did surprise me. The wing backs didn't surprise me much. That doesn't surprise me. Bruce bottles it. But Fabian Schär, Matty Longstaff coming in, they were the 2 for me. But I didn't expect Nout keeping it down. It's tough to mark him because it's kind of saying, "Oh, we're well done for not getting hammered," but we got beat at the end of the day. So I don't really have massive blame on Bruce. I would have liked to say we attack and make subs earlier. That's the only 2 things. But I know we're running out of time. But I'll score my 3.
Sam.
Yeah, I mean, you just get so numb to it eventually. That's the sad thing. I mean, to say I'm not disappointed is slightly misleading because I'm always disappointed when we don't win. But that's just the nature of it. But you just get numb. You don't feel anything. It's just you expect it. I'd probably agree with the 3. I've no problem with playing 5 at the back at Manchester City. It's how you go about it. Rafa played 5 at the back. That's fine, but you can still have a threat playing 5 at the back. But it's just so tedious the way we go about it. A lot of players are stifled in that team. A lot, and it's plain to see. Mm-hmm. When Miguel Almiron isn't smiling, something is really wrong. I've got nothing really positive to say about Steve Bruce. 3 out of 10. Just bored with him now. When Villa fans are sympathising with us because they know how we're feeling about Steve Bruce because he did the exact same thing there, something's going really wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. Absolutely, 3 out of 10. Was pleased with the lineup. Thought he went out about it the right way, but just when the game came around, there was no creativity, no ideas, and that comes down to the manager at the end of the day, regardless of how uninspiring the players are. But that's pretty much all we've got time for on Scoring the Players. We've got Lee coming up with the last word in just a little bit, but make sure, if you haven't already, check out the rest of the videos from tonight. We've had the live fan reaction and quick thoughts as well earlier. And don't forget to join us next week for the Liverpool game. I hope you've all had a Merry Christmas or a happy holiday and all the best for the new year. But thank you very much for watching Scoring the Players on Newcastle Fans TV. We'll catch you in the next one.